Jonny, you did a lot of work. You made a bunch of mock drafts, and now that the draft is over, you've given grades to every team. Would you give us your 2 best performing teams in the draft, and as well as your 2 least best performing teams?
Yeah, number 1 team, and this is really easy for me. I thought they killed it night 1, and the first is actually, I can't believe I'm saying it, the New York Jets.
Yeah.
The New York Jets knocked it out of the park this year, getting help for Zach Wilson, and also helping out in areas of struggle on the defensive side as well. Ahmad Gardner, I think they had to be thrilled when Derek Stingley went 3. They still got the guy they wanted, and who I think's the number 1 corner anyway. They had to be thrilled when the Falcons, who I thought botched the draft as well, takes Drake London at 8. They get Garrett Wilson at 10. Probably their top guy on the board who they didn't think would be there. Had to be thrilled once again. They get Jeremy Johnson, as I mentioned previously, at 26. They had to trade up to go get him. Great trade. Go get probably the 3rd best pass rusher in the draft. Well done. He's productive. The Jets need production. They have no pass rush right now. Brilliant. And then they get Breece Hall. Now, I like their the running back room actually in New York. I don't think it's bad. Hey, keep adding to it. Get weapons for Zach Wilson to see if he is real or not. They got Jeremy Ruckert, good pass catching tight end, who I wanted the Bengals to get from Ohio State. I thought the Jets were fantastic. Weren't too greedy. They kind of were able to stay in place for the most part, but when they saw an opportunity, they went for it. I thought the Jets had a great draft. Second team that I think probably had the 2nd best draft, and this was tough because I'll just mention a few other teams who I think did a great job. I won't go into detail. Detroit had a great draft. Seattle had a great draft, as I mentioned previously. I think Philly had a great draft. Baltimore, though, is my 2nd team, 2nd best draft. You get Kyle Hamilton. I know he's a safety, but he's easily the best at the position.
6'4". He's ginormous for a safety.
You got him late. He's the best safety at the position. He'll be wonderful for them in the AFC North. And I hate saying all of this because the Bengals have to face him. They got Linderbaum, the best center in the draft, after trading back to get him. I mean, and that was the pick that they got from trading Hollywood Brown. It made me furious. Great pick. They got David Ojabo. I know he's probably not going to play this year with the torn Achilles, but he's probably a top 15 pick, if not for the torn Achilles. He's easily the 3rd defensive end off the board, even ahead of Jeremy Johnson. So I think it's a great, great pick. They address needs at pass rusher, at center. Did they get a corner? No, but they got Kyle Hamilton, and their corners should be getting healthier as we go. They did try to address that later on, but great work by Baltimore. They fleeced a lot of teams, and you would never – it's to be expected at this point. So well done to those teams. I thought they had great 3 days, but specifically the Jets. That was an easy call as the best draft by any team.
All right, who was not so good?
Yeah, so there were several teams that I just was lost in what the game plan is here. And so this is not an indictment on any of these players necessarily that they drafted, but it doesn't fit their team. There's no need for it. And so first is the Chicago Bears. What are you doing? If you're the Chicago Bears, what on earth are you doing? Like, I know you don't have any early round picks because you had to go up and get Justin Fields. And so I understand that. But if you watched any of the games last year, he had no one to throw to, and he had no time to throw it.
Yep.
So what do you go out and do if you're Chicago? In free agency and the draft? This is just a draft grade, not free agency, but it's both here. In an indictment, we went defense. We literally get a corner and a safety with our first 2 picks. What are you doing? You got to find out if Justin Fields is your quarterback. You know, like Zach Wilson might not be the guy for the Jets, but dang it, they're going to find out.
Yeah.
Because they've supported him and given him the pieces to do it. Miami, Tua might not be the guy, but they've given him every weapon available to see if he is, and to give him the opportunity. Chicago's going to get Justin Fields killed. I don't understand what we're doing here. And listen, I think Kyler Gordon's a good, potentially really good player. I really like Jaquan Brisker. I thought if he wasn't a safety, he's probably a first-round talent.
Yeah.
But that's not what you needed. Yeah, you had secondary needs, but your defense is not the biggest need or issue. And Chicago can't seem to get over this cultural, we have to be mean and hitting hard, and it's all about the defense. And no, you have your potential franchise quarterback. Go get him a weapon. Yeah. Everybody else was. Even Detroit went and got Jared Goff a weapon. So what are you doing? Heck, even the Packers, who I thought had a poor draft, went up in the second round to get their guy in Christian Watson. At least they showed some effort. Chicago showed none.
Yeah.
What is it just going to be David Montgomery, Cole Kmet, and Daryl Mooney? That's going to instill some fear. Into the NFC North. All the while, Minnesota's loading up on their defense.
Oh, yeah.
The Packers are loading up on their defense. How's Chicago going to score points?
The way
the answer is they won't.
The way Chicago drafted, I will be, again, not trying to have expectations for my Lions, but I'll be a little disappointed, I think, if Detroit finishes behind Chicago this year. Because the way I look at it now, Detroit, there should be a little bit of expectation that they could at least finish in front of Chicago. I don't know if maybe I'm crazy, but
I don't think you are, though, Aaron.
Yeah.
And poor Justin Fields, he's just not getting a fair shot there. And I know I'm biased as an Ohio State fan.
You're right. You're right.
Most people would look at that situation and say, what are you doing to support him? Are you really even giving him a fighting chance? The other team, and this is going to sound like heresy, but they've had some bad drafts in the last few years too, is the New England Patriots. It was a terrible draft. Their first pick, and again, this is not an indictment on any of these players. I'm glad for them. This is an amazing night. But Cole Strange going from Chattanooga, their guard, even if you really wanted Cole Strange, you probably had him in the third round. What are you doing drafting him in the first? At minimum, a second for the value there. And listen, they have to replace their guard. There's nothing wrong with drafting the position. But you have to have some scouting going on between teams to understand where everybody else has him. Nobody had him projected in the first round. Not a single person. It was not a good pick. They take Bailey Zappe. Why are you taking a quarterback? You just took in the third round.
Yeah.
In the third round. Why are you taking a quarterback that early? It's one thing if you're taking a fifth round guy. Hey, we think he could be our backup. Cool. You have no weapons on offense still. And I know you took Tyquan Thornton. That's not the solution. You guys are so terrible at drafting wide receivers. You should have been moving up to go get one of these surefire wide receivers. You should have been one of those teams. You can't tell me nobody was calling on the phones. Detroit moved up from 32 to 12.
Yep.
You had the ability to move up and go get a wide receiver. So I just don't think New England did anything to improve as a team. I don't think they did anything to fix their offensive problems and lack of explosiveness. No solutions there. And all of their guys were massive reaches. Oh, yeah. So part of the indictment with New England is not necessarily just who they drafted, where they drafted it was kind of insane. There was a lack of understanding what the NFL landscape is. And listen, Bill's a great coach. He needs to get out of the GM business. Somebody else needs to take over the draft and who's actually drafting. Him and his dog aren't doing a very good job right now. So They need to actually let the scouting department and the GM do their job.